Let us pray. God, may the words of my mouth and meditations of all our hearts be pleasing to you, for you are our rock and our Redeemer. Amen. I don't know how many of you have ever seen or heard of the bumper sticker that says, "Oh Lord, save me from your followers." Anybody seen that one? Yeah, well, the Apostle Paul could have related to that. He founded churches, and then he tended to have problems with the churches that he founded, because all churches are human communities, of course. And one of the churches that he struggled with was the church in Corinth. Paul had received a couple of letters from people in this church a couple of years after he had founded this church, and they were asking for his help. They were reporting that the church had become divided over some difficult theological questions, and also over some issues regarding morality and behavior. Some people complained that other people were being sexually immoral. And some people complained that other people were immoral because they ate meat in temples that had been sacrificed to pagan gods. Some people claimed that other people lorded it over them because they could speak in tongues, and the people that were complaining about these arrogant people couldn't. Well, these letters prompted Paul to write the response that we have, and that we now know as Paul's first letter to the Corinthians. If you dig into this letter, you may find you've stepped into an alien world. I mean, we don't spend a lot of time these days obsessing over whether it's okay to eat meat sacrificed to idols, although we might wrestle with the morality of meat consumption for other reasons today. But if you take away all of the specific examples and you look at the broader themes of 1 Corinthians, you might see that Paul's letter could have been written today. He deals with universal problems that continue to plague the church. And one of the issues that seems to get him most worked up surfaces in the first part of our ancient testimony today from chapter 8. Quoting one of these letters that he's received, he writes, "We know that all of us possess knowledge." In other words, one of these folks that had written them had said, we all possess knowledge. And it turns out that there were some people in 1 Corinthians that believed that they knew better than others, that they were actually more spiritually mature. And because they were more spiritually mature, they could go into these temples and eat this meat sacrificed to idols without any spiritual harm, because idols aren't real, right? But others found that eating meat sacrificed to idols challenged their faith, that they couldn't go into that sphere of people worshiping another god and feel confident in their faith. And so these folks who felt that they had higher knowledge, that they were more mature, were getting impatient with the others who were calling them out for eating meat sacrificed to idols. And they wanted Paul to just back them up and come on strong and tell people to just get in line, stop complaining. It doesn't matter what you eat or what you drink. What matters is that your heart is right with God. But instead, Paul comes up with a very different answer than they're expecting to hear. He says, knowledge puffs up, but love builds up. Anyone who claims to know something, he says, does not yet have necessary knowledge. In other words, doesn't really know anything. Paul's impatience with what we might call theological arrogance comes throughout the letter. To those who think they know it all, Paul essentially says, don't be so damn sure of yourselves. Have a little humility. His frustration with those who felt that they were superior in their faith and their knowledge gave rise to one of the most famous passages of human literature, not even just the Bible, but human literature, which is the hymn of love in 1 Corinthians 13. Used perhaps most often at weddings and funerals, but really arose out of the need to talk about love in the body of Christ, in human community. So Paul writes, if I speak in the tongues of mortals and of angels, but do not have love, I am a noisy gong or a clanging cymbal. And if I have prophetic powers and understand all mysteries and all knowledge, and if I have all faith so as to remove mountains, but do not have love, I am nothing. Paul would have agreed with the ironic claim of one of today's most well-known Christian thinkers, Brian McLaren, who said, certainty is overrated. One of my favorite characters in film, the Reverend Mother in The Sound of Music, would have agreed with McLaren. And I suspect she might have spent some time meditating on 1 Corinthians. She had the same problem on her hands that Paul had. Some of the sisters in her care were just a little too sure of themselves and their own righteousness. And so they had no problem passing judgment on the weaker sisters among them. And in the famous opening to the movie, when Sister Maria comes clattering through the courtyard of the convent with her wimple all askew and her hair wild from being up singing in the mountains, late for Mass again, Sister Bertha says, well, Reverend Mother, I hope this new infraction ends whatever doubt she may have about Sister Maria's future here. But the Reverend Mother just smiles and replies, maybe with just a hint of a barb in her tongue, I always try to keep faith in my doubts, Sister Bertha. And so as our heroine Maria continues to flail around through most of the rest of the movie, unsure of herself, questioning her vocation, her calling, her purpose in life, afraid to follow her heart, but so full of love that it just can't help but burst out of her. Love for the children, love for music, love for the mountains, and love, it turns out, what she thinks is forbidden love, for a man. And as we follow Maria through the movie, we fall in love with her. We fall in love with her humanity and her willingness, I think, to question and to doubt. Because it shows up in stark relief all the rigid and deadening certainties around her. Whether it is the religious inflexibility of the Sister Bertas or the extreme fascist and racist Nazi ideologies that are surrounding the family and the community of Salzburg and threatening them. It's the people who are too sure of themselves, not those who have doubts, that threaten to quench love. This is what the Reverend Mother knows, and this is what the Apostle Paul knew. Well, I have a feeling that a lot of us have found our way into the United Church of Christ because as a denomination, we strive, doesn't mean we always succeed, but we strive to be more forgiving and more welcoming of uncertainty and doubt than many other churches. And some of the new members who are joining today have told me as much. Many of us have been hurt by Christians who were just too sure of themselves. So sure they knew the only right way that they left a lot of collateral damage in their wake. And sometimes we were that collateral damage, were we not? Well, when I was in college, I experienced some of that collateral damage from two sure Christians. I went to a Southern Baptist University in Greenville, South Carolina. And while I had a lot of enlightened teachers, my fellow students were sometimes none of that. And many of them were quite certain that God would never call a woman to the ordained ministry. After all, it says right there in 1 Timothy that God does not permit a woman to teach or have authority over a man. And as the slogan goes in some circles, God said it, I believe it, that settles it. Well, after I graduated from Furman, I went on to Princeton Seminary, where folks were enlightened enough to make room for women who were called into ministry, but LGBTQ folk were another matter at that point in the 1980s. And because I had a dark secret, a love that dared not speak its name, you might say, I ended up going from the frying pan into the fire. Well, it took over a decade for me to come to terms with the idea that my God-given sexuality and my call to ministry could coexist without one having to kill the other off. And it took that long for me, from college up into my late 20s, to see myself as a same-gender loving woman, as a fully beloved child of God. So like many of you, I eventually migrated into the United Church of Christ, where I found people who said strange things like God is still speaking, and who had strange grammatical preferences for commas over periods. If you ever ran across the UCC marketing slogan, never put a period where God has placed a comma. The idea, of course, being that there is always more to be said, more light to break forth from God's word. More to be said about God's love for all kinds of people, whether they have been marginalized for reasons of race or ethnicity, sexual orientation or gender identity, economic status or immigration status, mental, physical, emotional disability, or orthodox or heretical beliefs. And this is a place, we say, where no matter who you are and where you are on life's journey, you are welcome here. So I love the UCC because at our best, we are unafraid of our doubts. At our best, we understand, as Paul wrote, we know only in part, and we prophesy only in part. For now we see in a mirror dimly, and only in the life to come will we see face to face with perfect clarity. Richard Hayes, in his commentary on 1 Corinthians, says that Paul saw that any so-called knowledge that doesn't serve love is defective. That any knowledge that divides the community and despises those whom they see as ignorant or uncertain is not being used in the service of God. But we can't pretend that this is easy. It's one thing to say that we value uncertainty and doubt. It's another thing when you're in the middle of the dark night of the soul. It is so much easier to just be sure of what you believe. Isn't that why so many people are attracted to churches that just lay it out for them? Just, submit to this 5-point statement of belief, and you've got it made. People like certainty. And we all face, from time to time, We all have to face our own illusions of certainty, of believing that we know what's best. I was actually just recently challenged to question some of my own assumptions and beliefs. We, as you may have seen, put out a call for members of our transition team for you to nominate members for a transition team for our interim process. And one of the things that we set forth as criteria was emotional maturity. Seemed to make sense, right? It's emotional maturity. What's wrong with that? But then I got an email from somebody, and they said, you know what? That felt stigmatizing. That felt unwelcoming. That felt like maybe you were saying that if somebody struggled with mental illness or depression, or just was unsure of their emotional maturity, that they might not feel welcome to come forward and offer to serve. Or maybe we might be inclined to make judgments about people's so-called emotional maturity and feel that we wouldn't want to nominate so-and-so for that reason. And I struggled with this email because maturity seems like a pretty good thing. But as I reflected on it, I realized that whatever the benefits of emotional maturity might be, it's quite possible that those who are sure they might have it might not be the best people to be on the team. And those who think that they could possibly have it might be just the people we want. Just the people that we need because they have the ability and maybe the ability to question themselves. So perhaps what we could have said, and I admit, I think I was actually the one that suggested the phrase emotional maturity, so I can't even blame it on the council. So I think maybe what we could have said was that what we are seeking is people who seek to walk in love. People who seek to be loving in all their words and in all their ways. Because that was what was in my mind when I came up with that phrase that inadvertently might have caused some harm. So if it did, I apologize. This is the spiritual gift of uncertainty. It is the gift that enables us to remember that we are, as E.E. Cummings wrote, human merely beings. Humans from the humus. We live out this gift and we allow others to call us on our arrogance, to challenge us when we're too sure of ourselves. We live out this gift when we prefer to wander for a while in the dark wood rather than impose a blinding light of our own making on others. So with the Reverend Mother and in the best spirit of our still speaking church, let us indeed have faith in our